and would...
Sides of the argument. It is true that there was some global warming during the 20th century, particularly the last quarter of the 20th century, and the majority view, but not the universal view, is that it will resume sometime during the 21st century and there will be further warming. But it's all very uncertain. The science is very uncertain as to exactly what the cause of it is. Carbon dioxide emissions and concentrations in the atmosphere have some part to play, but how big a part, it's not at all clear. There are other factors that affect the climate, affect the temperature, which are not fully understood. So it's not a certain science. It's very difficult to predict. So that is the uncertainty you start with. So the question is, the next question is it very serious? Is it alarming? People say it is, but I don't think there's anything alarming at all. It's a small, gentle increase spread over a large number of years.
But is it better to do something now rather than nothing?
What it is better to do is to adapt to it. So that as people have adapted to changes in temperature over the centuries, and as indeed people today in different parts of the globe adapt to the very, very different temperatures, far greater than any conceivable increase in the average that we're told about. They adapt to the temperatures in the warm countries and the cold countries and so on. I mean, and for example, take two pretty successful countries economically, Finland and Singapore. In Finland, the average annual temperature is below 5 degrees centigrade. In Singapore, it's above 27 degrees centigrade. So that's a huge spread which people adapt to, whereas what we're told about, even by those who believe fervently in the global warming thing, is that there may be an increase of up to 4 degrees over the next 100 years.
Why not have an agreement like Kyoto, get countries to agree and to a fixed level of emissions? What's the problem with that?
There are two reasons why not. The first is that it is extremely expensive to cut back on emissions. That's why people haven't been doing it. That's why emissions are going on increasing year in, year out, continually, despite Kyoto. So to cut back, to decarbonize, as they say, the economies of the world by something like 70%. This is a massive change and hugely expensive. So it doesn't make sense to have this huge expense when you might not be having any great benefit. But then the second question is, second point is you won't get the agreement anyway. Because people in India and China, who are very, very poor, most of them, their #1 priority is to grow their economies, to develop their economies as quickly as they possibly can. And that means they want to do it on the back of cheap energy. So they are not going to cut back on their emissions.
What do you make of attempts, at least to, as New Zealand is one of some countries, looking at an emissions trading scheme as a way of regulating this? What's the matter with that?
I think that's a mistaken policy. I think it would damage the New Zealand economy to no benefit, particularly if you don't get an international agreement. Because if one country goes ahead on its own, all it means is that those industries and processes, which are particularly carbon intensive, will decline in New Zealand and they will be taken up in China or India instead.
Quick question, if I may. Al Gore, former US Vice President, do you see him as doing a good job in at least raising awareness, or is he a scaremonger?
I think he's a scaremonger.
Really?
Absolutely.
Are you a counterpoint to him then?
You might say that, yes.
Have you met him?
No, I haven't met him. I have met many Americans and American presidents in the past, and I was a great admirer of President Reagan, but I have not met Mr. Gore. No.
All right. Nigel Lawson, thank you very much indeed for coming in and talking to us about this.
Thank you.